Oak is one of the major hardwood species in the UK. It is also one of the most important species ecologically, rich in biodiversity, and plays a key landscape role in the British countryside. Oak also produces valuable timber for a wide variety of uses, from fine furniture, internal joinery, construction, cladding, boat building, fencing, and many other uses, not to mention as wood fuel. This short film looks at how we can make the most out of this keystone species and how the Future Trees Trust are working with foresters to identify and utilise the best genetic resources at our disposal.
Hello, I'm Jo Clark and I'm Head of Research at Future Trees Trust. Future Trees Trust is a charity that's dedicated to the improvement of some of our most important commercial hardwoods. One of the most important species we work with is oak, and we're here at the Herriard Estate in Hampshire, which is well known for growing good quality oak timber. So I want you to come with me to meet the forester and learn how we do this.
Morning, Jo.
Hello William, good to see you. So William, we're here in an oak stand. Can you tell me some of the silvicultural challenges in growing good quality oak for timber?
Absolutely, Jo. And if you come with me, we'll go and have a look and I'll show you some of what we don't want. So here's an example of a tree of poor provenance. It's crooked, it's slow grown, it's knotty. 40 years ago this was planted. We thinned this stand 3 times and we've still got trees in here that are only firewood quality. To wait that long is a disaster in economic terms. Let's go a little bit further and we'll start to look at some better stuff.
Okay, lead on.
Yeah, this stand's getting a little bit better here and shows a bit more potential than where we were before. Well, Jo, with oak, it's notorious for being very unpromising as a young crop, but silviculture can make a big difference to getting the best out of almost any crop. These are better stock, they were more densely planted. They had a nurse crop in as well, which is another silvicultural technique. We've done a bit of pruning in here, yep. Which will reduce the knots in the end product. Because we've got more trees to choose from, and we can end up with some really quite good examples. Come with me and I'll show you another stand where I think, you know, we can start to see the real potential.
Well, William, I can see we're in a much better stand. I can see this has got the beginnings of a really good timber stand, and we've got some nice trees in here with lots of selection. Right, what have you done silviculturally that gives us better options here?
Well, it starts from a fairly early stage, getting good stocking on the ground and getting the trees away. But once the crop's established, you then got to go into that detailed silviculture. We thin out the crop, yep. We take out the smaller and weaker trees and aim to give each of the better trees room to grow. So their canopy has space to expand, and that's what drives the growth in the stem, which is where the value of the tree is. This is the end product. This is what we're trying to produce. If you can produce knot-free, straight timber, yeah. That's what the sawmillers want.
Yeah, and this will always sell, won't it?
That will always sell, yeah. Yes.
So we can see that silviculture is really important to get a much higher value crop, but it's not just about the silviculture, is it? I mean, genetics has a role to play here, and if we start with good quality genetics, we can actually go that little bit further and get a little bit of extra value into our end crop.
The genetics make a big difference. Having the straightness and the cleanness of the stems means that even the young thinnings will reach a better market and we'll get a better return from that crop, which all feeds back so we can invest the money in the rest of the woodland and we can get those other benefits that an oak crop gives you, the biodiversity and the habitat that all goes along with an oak crop.
So it's really all about the economics, and if you can get that crop away a bit quicker, you're actually saving costs in weed control, in labour, if you don't have to do as much pruning, and that can make a big difference between a crop that pays and makes a return for the landowner versus one that actually only ends up as firewood.
It's a big difference. Okay, so Joe, perhaps you could explain to me as a forester how the system of grading the different planting stock works.
So when nurseries sell their trees, all the trees fall into one of 4 different categories. And every time you go up a category, the quality of your planting stock increases. The first category is source identified, and this just indicates where that seed has been collected from a single seed stand or region of provenance.
That would have come from, could have come from the poor quality stand that we saw earlier on.
It could have done, yes. That would be a source identified, the lowest quality of material that's available. But the system is managed by the Forestry Commission, and they assess the stands, and if it's a good quality stand, it will go on the Forestry Reproductive material, the FRM material register, as select stand. So a stand such as this might be a select seed stand, and if you use your planting stock called select material from a selected seed stand, you're likely to get a better end product. But actually we can do a bit better than this. If we select the very best trees from within a select stand, these we call our plus trees, and if we bring all these plus trees together, we can then market the product from that, the acorns, as a qualified material. If we plant material that is qualified, you're actually looking at a 5 to 8% genetic gain over using this source identified material. So this is the sort of tree that we would use as the basis of our breeding program to form these, we call these plus trees. They're examples of the best trees growing in this place. You can see it's very tall and straight. It's got a really good length of free timber, a good height to the first fork. It's showing good apical dominance. This is very important because we obviously want trees that go straight up, and the branching's quite fine. And we collect material from these for our breeding program. But we can actually go a little bit further. We don't actually know anything about the genetics of those trees, and we can plant out progeny trials. So we collect the acorns from our best trees, the progeny, and we plant them out in replicated trials, and we assess those trees over a number of years for a number of different characters that we're interested in. And at the end of that testing period, we know which are the good ones and which are the less good ones, and we can manipulate that population to get the very best that we want out of it, and at that point it becomes tested, and this is the highest category of FRM. And it's these 2 highest categories of FRM, this qualified and tested, that Future Trees Trust is dedicated to making available to the forest industry.
And we foresters, we need to be asking the nurseries for qualified or preferably tested
material. So often the source identified and the selected material is what is available, but in fact we have qualified material available for cherry and for silver birch and for sycamore, and we're actively currently working on getting qualified material and tested material for oak, because oak is such an important species. Well, William, it's been a really interesting look around the estate this morning. Thank you so much for your time and your expert knowledge. But I have to say also, at Future Trees Trust, we're extremely grateful to the landowners like the Herriard Estate who let us come into their estates and walk through their woodlands and select the very best trees that of course form the basis of all the breeding work that we do, that makes this material available then to the benefit of all British forestry. So thank you very much.
I know that the landowners are very appreciative of the work the Trust is doing, because they can see that in the future they're going to reap the benefits of that work, and the investment in the future oak crops will really pay dividends. So thank you very much for coming along.
Well, thank you.